So, welcome back to another episode of the GODSU Wednesday Icon Talk. I am yours truly, your film director, MC, and engineer of the show, His Excellency Dakar, and I am director of operations here at GODSU, as well as the CEO of Dakar Marketing Tools. And beside me, we have our co-MC and the founder of the Wednesday Icon Talk. That is Her Excellency Attorney Reverend Dr. Diane Moore-Eubanks, and she's also the founder and Chancellor of GODSU. And tonight we're interviewing His Excellency Dr. Matthew Fogg, Chaplain, and he's Vice Provost and of GODSU as well as GODSU Dean of Security. And he is a retired U.S. Marshal, also a MSNBC and CNN analyst. And without any further ado, my co-host, please take us away.
Oh my goodness, I've been waiting for this. Oh wow. We have the great MSNBC CNN analyst on tonight?
Yes, that's right.
Lord have mercy. Well, I just want to introduce you guys to one of the stars of our Empower You magazine, Empower You conference. None other, he is featured in our magazine, none other than Vice Provost Dr. Matthew Fogg. And as handsome as he is, that's how smart he is. Usually you don't get those two in a package. Dr. Matthew Fogg is a member of FAPAC, Blacks in Government, Federally Employed Women, Society of American Indian Government Employees, and the big national second, former big national second vice president. Dr. Fogg retired as a chief deputy with 32 years of federal services in the United States Marshal Services under supervision of the U.S. Department of Justice. He is currently a president with BIG. He was a former president of FEW. He just goes on and on with the work that he's done with congressional relationship and his main mission in this world is to ensure that people of color, people who get disparate treatment, will be treated equally and fair. As a result of that, he has received just outstanding awards from the U.S. Marshals, as well as the DC U.S. Attorney for his national dragnet investigations that arrested many of America's most wanted and dangerous fugitives. He's also a decorated first responder at Ground Zero on September 11, 2001 in New York City. In fact, the first photo of the first responders that you see on many of the major magazines stars this hero very much in front. Dr. Fogg won a $4 million landmark EEO and Title VII federal court jury verdict against his employer, the U.S. Department of Justice and Attorney General, for internal discrimination. And today, he is the class agent representing hundreds of African American deputies, U.S. Marshal et al. Versus the U.S. Attorney General for systemic racism and discrimination dating back to 1994. His numerous awards include big National Meritorious Service Award, the NAACP Barrier Breakers Award, the National Aeronautics and Space Administrators 9/11 First Responders Award, and the United States President's Point of Life Award for volunteer community service. He has campaigned for U.S. Congress in Maryland, Democratic 4th District. He has been a guest television law enforcement analyst for CNN, Fox, CNBC, C-SPAN, MSNBC, RT, and other major news affiliates. He has represented as a non-lawyer many federal and state and union employees nationwide and has prevailed on many cases before the U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. He has served here as vice provost and has been a force to reckon with. We would not be GODSU today without this great man of God, and that is why today he's our man of God, unleashing legacy successfully. He is our mogul. Welcome, welcome to the Wednesday Icon Talk. Dr. Fogg, or should we say Uncle Drew?
Yes.
Thank you so much for having me on the show, and that was such a great introduction. I mean, sometimes you listen to this stuff and you say, "Wow, I didn't realize some of the stuff you've done." You know, it just. But thank God that Lord has allowed me and it guided me, allowed me to do the things that I've done. Thank you so much for your great vision and putting together GODSU and to just allowing this great organization that we're going to make even greater and greater come to pass. So, thank you so much for you know you have your great husband, your beautiful children, Dakar right next to you, very handsome man, got a lot great future in front of him. And so I just thank God for GODSU and thank you so much for having me on the show.
Well, I tell you what, and I know that you were running for Congress, you're doing different things and had to take a little brief time off. And when I spoke with you and you said you are ready to get back on the horse, I said, yeehaw, let's go. Dr. Fogg, what has been the key to your journey to success?
Well, before you make well, I think the key to the journey, most of all, is my parents. I would think that where I was raised and the fact that my dad lived to be 100, my mom was in her mid 80s. Uh, um, great, great man and woman of God. Principles. We had a large family, 10 of us. I'm an identical twin, and growing up in Washington D.C. doing the civil rights movement, it's just a lot of things that shaped me. But I think basically the most if we had to say the least common denominator or the most common denominator would be God. Just having that in your life and knowing that there are certain principles and things that you want to try to do while you're on this earth.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And you're always helping. I know you had us signed up to speak at the FEW conference last year. Unfortunately, it was delayed, as well as BIG, Congressional Black Caucus. You're always putting GODSU in the forefront. And because of your leadership, your great leadership, and your love for GODSU, we are where we are today. Can you tell us what are some initiatives that you're doing at this time as a leader?
Well, right now, what I'm working on right now is the law enforcement perspective of what kind of change does America want? How do we change this paradigm? The fact that I've had 30 years, over 30 years in law enforcement and all of the aspects from the enforcement operations to the administrative piece of it, fighting discrimination, understanding it, understanding how law enforcement affects communities. That has been sort of my whole goal is what role can I have in making sure that it's done properly and it's done correctly. So those are the things that I've been working on, as well as still handling cases where people have filed discrimination cases in the federal government and are trying to get equitable relief. Those are the things that I've been focusing and getting my book. The biggest thing right now is to get that book out that covers the history of my history in the U.S. Marshals and what happened and how I had ended up filing a discrimination case and then the victory and then moving on to the class action and how it's affecting others.
Excellent. So what I'd like you to do now is tell us more about your book specifically, because we want to make sure we promote and elevate everything that you're doing. So tell us more about the book and then tell us about your speaking engagements, whether it's universities, whether it's back in the regular media.
Right. Well, the book in itself is just a historical, it's a historical image of what my life was starting, getting cranked up, and what made me go to law enforcement. And the fact that too, when I was a young man, they arrested me and put me in jail for 3 days for something that I didn't do. And it had a very traumatizing experience or effect on my life that matter of fact, it should have ran me away from law enforcement, but instead it made me want to go in that direction. And then when I was down here in Washington, D.C., when Dr. King came and gave his speech, and me and my twin brother decided to follow the people. We were living on Capitol Hill, to follow them down to the monument and where those locations were, and to see all of the people and just begin to slowly get a grasp on what was happening. We still didn't really understand racism. But when you saw those folks coming from all over the South and the city and coming to Washington, D.C. to march, you heard that booming voice of Dr. King, you know, over those loudspeakers, and I Have a Dream, and that whole thing. And then going on later on, like I said, for me getting arrested, and then later on going on to college and ended up getting my degree in criminal justice administration, and then coming out and getting into law enforcement. That's kind of, the book takes you to a quick synopsis of that, and then it takes it into how I observed the racism, the discrimination, and a lot of people were afraid of it, didn't want to deal with it, just said, look, try to avoid it, go around it, and keep going, and don't worry about it. As long as, you know, you just give in and just accept the fact that racism is a part of America as apple pie, and that barriers are going to be there, and that's just going to affect you, and you got to just understand it. And I said no. So once I said no and I took a stand, I was in law enforcement. And in law enforcement, when you take a stand, you have to depend on those same people to back you up. And so a lot of that became the problem, because, you know, it becomes a system where it's a culture. You do what you're told to do. And even if your culture, your training and everything has taught you not to do it a certain way, when you arrive at your culture, the duty station, and you start to see how things are done, if you don't do it that way, then people will look at you. It's almost like the bad becomes the good and the good becomes the bad. You learn the right way to do it, but then you start to seeing that there are bad ways of doing it, and that's the way you got to do it because your other colleagues are doing it, and everybody's kind of accepted it. So I was one of those that spoke up and said, no, I think we need to change this. It happened to me. If it had not happened to me, I probably wouldn't have. But because it did happen to me and I understood it, it made all of that, makes the book even so much more, to me, palatable to the person who maybe wouldn't quite grasp it. They'd understand now. I was a victim, and I realized there are a lot of other victims out there, the way we were actually doing our law enforcement duties, you could say. So that's the book. It's all about that. And the book is a journey to justice from the time that I got on and what I went through and up until present.
That is outstanding. And when can we expect the book to be out? Because we want.
Well, every month I say it's going to be coming.
No, no, no,
I'm
no,
sorry.
no. Now that you're talking to me, we're going
Right.
to get the book out. We're going to get the book out on time, because what we want to do is to have a class that you actually teach,
Wow.
you know, about this. But it won't be a class about just racism. It will be a class on, despite racism, it exists, but despite that, here you are as a mogul. Here you are as successful. How can we use your book and use your life story to teach young people that despite what is going on out there, you can be a Dr. Matthew Fogg? You know, that's what we want to see. We want to see the victory, and the victory is you. And I can't believe that you went to Martin Luther King's speech. What were you, 2? You know, were you crawling? Oh my goodness, look at this man.
No, I was there. I was, like I said, early, like a kid, 10 years old, 11. We were only about, I'd say about 15, 20 blocks from where the speech was, from where we grew up at. So we were up on Capitol Hill, and we would follow these people and just crowds of people going there. Because at that time, everybody, of course, you know, the March on Washington in '63, everybody was coming in, and it was surreal, to say the best. But the reality of it is that for me, having gone through what I went through, I saw a lot of people fail. I saw a lot of people, you know, in one way or another, their careers were destroyed. They went away. They were hurt. So it is not, it's, you know, it's like war. You can win the battle, but a lot of people are going to get hurt in that process. And that's what happens when you start talking about taking on America's probably oldest, you know, ill. The oldest ill you could think of is racism. And it's still with us today. So with and now the fact that it's all coming out and people are seeming like white America, everybody's now beginning to understand the concept of Black Lives Matter, and people want to get involved and say, well, what can we do to make it better? But you got to understand, for people like myself, and yes, I want to be someone that folks would look at and say, he did it, I can do it.
Yes.
I can do that. But I want them to understand all the barriers that are going to be there,
Yes.
that are going to say, you can't do this and you won't win this battle. And there may be some of your friends or people that, as I know, I can speak right now. I mean, when one of my friends died, and we still to this day, we don't know if how he was killed up in New York, a former marshal. But the bottom line is, you can do it. You got to be persistent. You got to be understanding that this is a way you've been called into life, and you stay that you go the course. You got to go the distance. And the battle is given to those that endure to the end, not just the swift and the strong, but to somebody that can just go the whole distance.
That is absolutely wonderful. I remember in 1982, was it 83 in Tallahassee, Florida. I went for a position and was told directly to my face by the person at the that I did interview with, is that we're not hiring any more black people today, just
Right.
like that. And so you do have those folks who their mindset is just totally corrupted, and they believe in a system that really doesn't exist, because people of European descent is not superior to none of us. You know,
Right.
we're all human beings, as we see at GODSU. You know, we're one race human in one space earth with one embrace, which is love. That's it. And so people have made this this make believe, and they've made it true to themselves, and they have systematically put things in place to put others down. But because it is not something that has to exist, people like yourself and others have found ways that even as they face these barriers, what they need to do to overcome it and supersede and do even better than those of other descents. We've seen it in science, we've seen it in law, we've seen it in athletics, we've seen it in so many things, in so many ways, that once you remove the barriers from folks, they've excelled and they've been number one in the world. The three people in the entire world with the highest IQs are all African-American children. And they're not African-American, African children. Some of them are from Africa, but they all have black skin. How do you line that up with white supremacy? It's foolishness. So the bottom line is that what we see now is that people aren't turning to the church and to the Martin Luther Kings for relief. They're turning to non-attorneys like yourself that fight the EOC. They're turning to attorneys who fight the EOC, and we have to understand that we need to use the legal means, you know, to get to where we get. The churches, they've stepped back. They're not doing their job, and so those like yourself, you know, who've stepped up, you're doing a great job. And so we applaud you for that, because you could just go about your business and just keep being a business person and not do this. But you're doing this, and a lot of your clients, I know them personally, you do it for them gratis, and it's wrong, guys. The Bible even says that a worker is worthy, you know, of their fare. So as a gentleman like Dr. Matthew Fogg, for those of you out there who need help with your discrimination cases, when you do engage him, give him the respect and ensure you pay his fare, and ensure also that you get his book. I wanted to ask you, Dr. Fogg, you have been a fundamental, foundational member of GODSU. There's not been a year that's passed that you have not been responsible for building this university. Even when you were fighting for your position in Congress or your position in BIG, you never stopped. What is it about GODSU that fires you up so much, that gives you that passion, that drive to build this university? Please tell us.
Well, besides your direct leadership, of course, and then the family, your great family, and the great people that I met in this organization. You know, I'm, of course, being a U.S. Marshal, you know, you learn to vet things, you know, and look around you to see what actually is you're getting into, sort of just layman's terms. And one of the things that I noticed with GODSU was we had this family-oriented atmosphere, you know, one for one and one for all. We're all for one and all for one. And the bottom line is having that, and then seeing the spiritual foundation of the organization, that had to be there. And one race, one people in this world. God put us all and made us all, created us all equal. And then the fact that it's a learning institution, wanting to teach others, which is part of my whole sort of mantra, if you want to say it, is we learn from others. We teach others. Whether, to go down that wrong street, don't go down that wrong street, what's going to happen to you, what you need if you are going to decide to go down that street. Everything that we do in law enforcement, we learn, we assess situations, we determine what the risk benefit factor, we determine whether or not what we need if we're going to affect an arrest of somebody dangerous or somebody we know is going to hurt others. All of those are things. So when I saw with GODSU, I saw sort of a mirrored image of what I thought this world needs, not just the United States or Florida, but the world needs this. And when you're talking about universities, when you're talking about higher learning institutions, the world needs that. And those who are poor, and what I like about GODSU was it didn't matter what walk of life you came from, if you had integrity, if you had love, and you cared about others, that's what GODSU was looking for. So I like that. And behind that, it made me say, and I'm around a lot of people like that. Because of the work that I do, not only just in law enforcement, but helping others in the EEO arena, always in the herb arena, learning what to put in your body. All of these things, you meet people who are trying their best to do the right things to make it through life. And so you want to try to have a network, a coalition of people that you can say, this is a network. We're all thinking in a similar term. How can we help each other? How can one other help another? And so with the organizations that I've been with, Blacks in Government, federally employed women, the only male to ever reach the national vice president of a women's organization, over 5,000 members. And I'm the first male they ever elected as a national vice president. So to be in that position and for those women to have enough understanding and enough concerns and enough, what's the word I want to say, and enough concern, care, that saying, look, this guy is somebody that can help us grow, even as women, because he believes that women should be treated equally. He believed that women should have equal rights and all of the barriers that have blocked women, and especially Black women. So again, it made me decide to say, look, I know when you come to GODSU, GODSU seems to be an organization, it is an organization that has all of these concerns, and it wants to make it correct, and it wants to make sure we get the training and the foundation that we can go out into that world and be a beacon of hope for others. So that's what really gave me the drive to really push GODSU.
And you sure did. And I want to let you know that we love you so much. Everyone in the university, even while you were doing your run for Congress, you were on everybody's lips. Everybody talked about you, how much they love you, how much they respect you. And there's one thing that you have that really, really why we love is that integrity. A man of his word, his word is his bond. And we just absolutely love you. You are family. I would say that you're closer to us than many of the family members that we have by blood. That's how much we love you. And so it's an honor and privilege to have found a brother, even different mother, different father, but a brother in spirit and in like-mindedness. And that's why no matter how many congressional runs you may have or elections you may go to, forever you are with us. I guess it's like they do in the blood in the gangs, blood in, blood out. So we ain't leaving you. We ain't leaving you. We love you completely, and that is sincere, absolutely sincere. I want to ask you, in the ultimate legacy, the ultimate footprint as a mogul that you're going to leave here on Earth, how do you visualize that? What do you see as your ultimate legacy?
Well, I don't know, when you look at this world and you look at all of the issues that are in this world, and how much of that do we have impact on as individuals personally? Can we impact this world? And for me, once my life was placed in danger, and I knew there was a chance that I might die, really die. I mean, sometimes say, "Oh man, they almost killed us." How you get killed? But to really say it and really understand it and know, it's like going into war. You go into a war and they got you on the battlefield. You see, there's a chance you may not be coming back. Well, kind of like that's kind of for my mogul, for my legacy. I want to be, I want it to be said that if he had to, he gave his life, whatever, in the love for others. And sometimes you look at the Bible, you look at all of the disciples. Every one of them was met some type of death that none of us would want to deal with. Period. But the fact is they did, including Christ. So we look at and we see we see Dr. King, and we could go on and on naming people in our millennium, in our world, that have also gave their life. So you want to know that whatever it is you're doing, even if it cost you your life, you were doing the right thing.
Right.
And that's kind of the way I want my legacy to be that people say, wow, he made a difference. And many times his life was in danger. I'm not saying that's what will happen to me in the end, but I'm just saying they saw that and they said, whenever you make, they always say it's like the thing that's the most impactful is the thing that causes you it's going to be the most stressful. But at the same time, it's the most impactful because it's going to have an impact on life. So that's kind of what I want. I want to make certain that I'm doing something, as one of my mottos was, I only regret that I have but one life to live defending the human rights of others.
That's beautiful. And Dr. Fogg, how can our audience reach you in terms of phone number, email, and website? Because I am just so excited about the class you're going to be teaching. Even before the book is out, you can get going. So I want to find out. Can you give us a little bit about that, please? How we can reach
Sure.
you?
Well, they can. Well, one of my nieces, she calls me Google because I always tell her, just Google me. But so they can Google me. But but the other thing is, you can go to my website. I'm on Facebook. I'm all over YouTube. If you just Google my name. If you want to reach me directly, you can email me at usmarshall.fogg. There's one L in Marshall, just usmarshall.fogg, my last name, at gmail.com. Or you can also, you can call me. I'm going to give you a number you can call, 301-899-6207. You can dial that number and you can reach me. And when the book comes out, the book, I have information on it. The title of the book will be Bigots with Badges. I'm not going to tell you the underlining title, but Bigots with Badges is the top one. And it'll have my information, and it'll have a lot of information that hopefully it can help people to try to understand the whole policing paradigm.
That is wonderful. And for you all, just so you know, GODSU hopes to be one of the fulfillment centers when it becomes a course for us. And Dr. Fogg will also accept pre-sales. So those who do the pre-sales, when he sends your book, it will have his direct signature. So we do want to let you know that pre-sales are coming up with his direct autograph and a note just to you. And we will let you know further how you can send your funds for that. So with that said, thank you so much, Dr. Fogg. I am going to hand it over to my handsome co-host so he can get into the top 10 outstanding global workers for the week, and you're one of them. So without further ado, His Excellency, Dakar. Now, Alexander, take it away.
Now let's get started with our top 10 global outstanding workers. And this is week 1. We have helping with administrative work. We have our Vice Chancellor, His Excellency, Dr. Moore-Eubanks, Chaplain, who's the CEO of Global Alliance Technical Services. And we have helping with being a paralegal director, Her Excellency Cairo Dr. Eubanks, UNCSR CLC CEC Chaplain, who's the CEO of Cairo Speaks, Cairo Writes. And we have Miss Black Talented Team, the Miss Black USA title holder for the Sunshine State, Sudan A.L. Eubanks, who's CEO of Sudan Dolls Games and Apps. And we have our Assistant Dean, Reverend Dr. Lilithia Davis Chaplain, who's the CEO and founder of Dior to Live in Overflow.
Hello, hello, great day, everyone. Yes, this is Assistant Dean to GODSU and Reverend Dr. Lolithia Berard Davis, Chaplain. It is an honor to be here. I am the founder and CEO of Dior to Live in Overflow. I just believe that God desires that we live in the overflow of the many blessings and promises of God. And how do we do that? By having a healthy, wholesome life in knowing his promises and knowing that he desires that we all take in part of what he has for us, and knowing that that your credit, that's a service that I do provide, that I am compassionate about helping as many families as possible to be able to come home, become homeowners, become into a place of home ownership, and become to a place of financial freedom. How about that? Overflow, living in the life of overflow, the bountiful blessings of God. And so I want to help you move from crossover. Yes, we've crossed over into 2021. So what are you going to do in 2021? Cross over into your new financial freedom. Yes, you may contact me at 346-224-0784. And then I have the Dior to Live in Overflow of his promises in every area of your life. Healing, hurt, pain, anything that has kept you bondage. Oh, God wants to release you from that, because whom the sun sets free is free indeed. So prayer is my first language. Okay. And so you can reach me at that same number, 346-224-0784. GODSU is the place for you. I invite you to come and share, listen at the messages later, and share into the courses and be a part of GODSU. We are good people, good company. We want to see you. Thank you.
And now we have helping with administrative work, our Vice Provost, His Excellency, Reverend Dr. Joseph Hickman Chaplain, who's the founder of JH Global Consultancy.
Thank you, His Excellency Dakar. This is a phenomenal moment in time, a new year, a new beginning, and I'm excited by the opportunities that we have at Global Ovid Day Seminary and University. As a owner of a business that has been in existence over 20 years, we're excited by the opportunity at JH Global Consultancy, where we provide strategic planning, development funding, cybersecurity, with over 120 years of experience to assist churches, nonprofits, and businesses throughout the world. We have also pivoted during this pandemic to provide personal protective equipment. I can be reached at 201-280-4125, or you can email us at jhglobalconsultancy@gmail.com, 201-280-4125. It is my extreme pleasure to be a part of GODSU for over 7 years, where we believe in spiritual transformation, economic development, and definitely giving back to the least of these throughout the world. We want to make an impact. If you are a nurturer and a visionary, you need to be a part of Global Ovid Day Seminary with the extraordinary Chancellor and Vice Chancellor, making a difference in the world. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And next up, we have helping with public relations. We have His Excellency Dr. Matthew Fogg, Chaplain, who is GODSU Dean and GODSU Vice Provost. And he's GODSU Dean of Security and a retired U.S. Marshal, as well as MSNBC and CNN analyst.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate this for Dr. Diane and Dr. Eubanks and Vice Chancellor Eubanks and the family and GODSU just overall. I mean, I just want to say that this is an organization that has a vision that I've always looked for. It's rooted in it's rooted in God and the vision that God had, and we see it and we read it in our holy Bibles. And I just think that bringing folks together to try to figure out how we can make a better place in this world for others, it's the key to life. I mean, do unto others as you would have them to do unto you is one of the major commandments of God. And so to me, that's what GODSU is all about. And we just thank you when you start getting folks that's coming to an organization from all walks of life, whether it's law enforcement, whether it's the consulting agency, whether it's the ministry, when you get that type of collaboration of people coming together, that says you have something that has knowledge on all aspects of life, and you need that. And if it's God-centered, what more could you ask for? So we thank you. We thank you for listening to us, for allowing us to serve you. And we come forward, in the name of our mighty God. And so to you, I say to you, if you want to reach out to me, you can Google me. You can you can email me at usmarshal.fogg, my last name, Fogg, at gmail.com. And you can call me at area code 301-899-6207. I live in the Washington, D.C. area, nation's capital. So I would be glad to talk to you, and anything I can do for you. Certainly, we are now brothers and sisters in Christ. And thank you so much for being on board.
Thank you. Thank you. And for those of you who have any EEOC complaints and you need an excellent, excellent advocate, please reach out to Dr. Matthew Fogg. Thank you.
I've GODSU Administrative Assistant, Her Excellency Dr. Arlene Spann, Chaplain, who's the founder of Arlene Sweats. We have Dean Imam Dr. Salahuddin Muhammad, Chaplain, who's the founder of Muhammad's Marriage and Relationship Services, as well as our Assistant Dean, Dr. Nathaniel Kauser, Jr., Chaplain, who's an author, as well as the founder and CEO of Infusion HF 70 Plus LLC. We have Melvin Burrell, who's the broker of Lee Crest, brokered by EXP, as well as myself, Director His Excellency Dakar, Eubanks Chaplain, and I am Director of Operations here at GODSU, as well as the CEO of Dakar Marketing Tools. And before you, you see some of our products being worn, as well as displayed by our outstanding workers. You see the magazine Chancellor's holding up, as well as the rings that Dr. Hickman, as well as our Chancellor has, our African American History Bible featuring our students. You see, featuring our students. See Dr. Hickman there, Dr. Davis as well. We have actual scripture as well.
Large print for the blind people like me.
That's right. Yes. And also the GODSU jackets that you see, the 4 outstanding workers on with me wearing. And also want to mention, we also do the virtual backgrounds as well. Yes, we see yours, Dr. Fogg. Yes. And without any further ado, I want to have our Chancellor, who is the Chancellor of GODSU, also the founder of GODSU, as well as our shows. the Right Honorable Her Excellency Reverend Dr. Diane Moore-Eubanks, JD Chaplain. Please take us away.
Thank you so much. I would like to extend a special appreciation to all the GODSU leaders that are listed above. We have our top three on here with you right now. Dr. Fogg, Dr. Laleithia, Dr. Hickman. We're just so pleased with all of them. These are folks who volunteer tirelessly many hours to build this institution. Things don't build themselves. It's the God in you that does the good deeds. And so I'm calling on each and every one of you. You've heard their businesses, you know what they do. Support them. That's what you do. You know, so many times people volunteer and give their hours and they don't even get a thank you from other institutions. Here at GODSU, we say not only will we tell you thank you, but we're going to lift up your business because we understand that just like oxygen, we need currency, we need to be able to sustain our families, we need to have funds to give back and grow God's kingdom. And that's what these volunteers do. So we especially want to thank Dr. Fogg and Dr. Lalita for providing actual names, emails, and phone numbers for the many referrals that they've sent. And also want to thank Dr. Hickman for all the hours that he spends administratively every single day building GODSU. We are grateful for the opportunity to add workers of God to our database, as well as to register them for additional educational courses. So I am the Chief Engagement Officer here at GODSU. Why engagement? Because that's what I do, is engage you. Now, some of you may say, I had one person to say, oh, but Dr. Diane, you come on too strong. Well, guess what? A hurricane is strong, isn't it? And doesn't it move things? Okay, when you have a light rain, nothing happens, right? So yes, I am the hurricane, I am the storm in your life to move you to where God is calling you to be, what he's calling you to do. So yes, sometimes it's a bit strong, sometimes a bit powerful, it's a bit pushy, but I'm just moving in the Holy Spirit. And so if I spend any time with you, that means you're worth something. Get suspicious when I don't bother with you, when I don't call you, when I don't care, then you're in trouble. But if I give you any attention, it means that God in me is telling me that you are important, that you are worth it. So with that said, I'm also the provost of our Global Bible Institute, our many courses, theology, divinity, we do all those courses. And then on our GODSU side, we do all our non-traditional courses. We do entrepreneurial studies. We do all our different chaplaincies that we have, even for you in the workplace, you in the marketplace. We have chaplains just for you. It's not just for religious purposes, but just to do good. Okay. With that as well, I'm on the board of the Minor Football League, the MFL, which is the only developmental professional football league for promoting people to the NFL. I'm the only female owner who has acquired a professional football franchise in the US, which is the Fort Lauderdale 49ers. Yes, that is it. And we are here in beautiful Fort Lauderdale. And we're just so excited. We are part of the Minor Football League under the auspices of Dr. Richard Miles. So we're so excited about that. I'm also a licensed financial service agent with Invita Financial Network, where we show you how money works. We show you how to plan for your retirement, get your annuities together, and how your family, you can open accounts that allow you to own your own banks if you set it up right. If you set up with myself and Dr. Willis, would be glad to help you. So with that said, here at GODSU, we're what? One race human in one space earth with one embrace, which is love. We love you, and we will see you next week on the Wednesday Icon Talk. And at that time, we'll have a woman of power. Whoop!
There it is.
Absolutely. So thank you, everyone. And we have some great messages for you afterwards. So make sure you share, like, subscribe, and
comment.
All righty. So make sure you do that. And remember that GODSU is working all over the world. We have a United Nations NGO, New Future Foundation, Inc., the Jamaica chapter under Queen Mother Dolores, that's been in the UN for 51 years. And we're helping right now with the Jamaican children. 129 schools are getting ready to go back to school next week. And we have arranged for all the teachers. We have over 200, we have 500 cases now of sanitizers. We're giving half to the schools and half to the transport operators in Jamaica, TODS, to ensure that those children get to school safely and that those teachers have safe environment for those children. So we're all over the world, guys. So support us here at GODSU. We love you. So share, like, subscribe, and comment. And we have some other messages for you afterwards. So don't leave us yet.
Global Ovid Day Seminary and University GODSU is a 501c3 interfaith e-learning Global Florida Department of Education Commission of Independent Studies approved degree issuing religious institution of higher learning under Florida Statute 1005.061F in Miramar, Florida, a suburb of Fort Lauderdale suburbs. Our curricula include programs like our theology diploma, bachelor's, master's, and PhD programs, which are designed for students called to the ministries of teaching and preaching. Program enrollees include pastors, evangelists, missionaries, and laypersons. Our additional courses: Entrepreneurial Studies, premier self-development courses on wealth building. We also offer a mini course for youth, the Junior Ambassador Youth Public Speaking, to gain professional and personal skills. Chaplaincy Diploma, Love and Spiritual Interfaith and Christian programs. Chaplains are trained, certified leaders attached to either a religious and/or non-religious institution or organization. Cybersecurity IT courses. Our licensed instructor has a 95% pass rate compared to the 30% national average for CoM.C accredited courses, such as Security Plus and Network Plus. 40% of our alum who've gone through our prestigious GODSU honors programs have also previously matriculated through their earned doctorate programs. Our alum include physicians, ambassadors, statesmen and stateswomen, icons and billionaires, religious leaders, titans in business, global philanthropists such as Ambassador of Ghana to the United States, His Excellency Dr. Bafor A.J. Bewa, Ambassador of Nigeria to the United States, His Excellency Dr. Sylvanus Nusufor, billionaire builder and dean, His Excellency Dr. Michael V. Roberts, former Maritime Minister, Government of Nigeria, Honorable Dr. Leke Olawale, President of Fraser Net and Fraser Nation and Power Networking Conference, Dean, His Excellency Dr. George Fraser. Our world-class and esteemed professors include Attorney Her Excellency Reverend Dr. Diane Moore-Eubanks, PhD, Chancellor, Physician Dr. Eric Bizetsky, Clinical Health and Nutrition and GODSU Medical Expert, Physician Her Excellency Rhoda Makinde, PhD, Chief Medical Doctor, GODSU, Medical Missions, Dean Michael V. Roberts, JD, PhD, Dean of Entrepreneurship Studies, Dean George Fraser, PhD, Personal Development Studies, Dean Kyra Eubanks, Dean of Junior Ambassador, Professor Willis Eubanks, PhD, Dean of Cybersecurity Program, Professor Reverend Dr. Joseph Hickman, Associate Professor, Theology Program, Professor Imam Dr. Talib Sharif, Professor Interfaith Program and Chaplaincy, Professor Reverend Dr. William Blake, Theology Program Curriculum Development, Professor His Excellency Dakar, Ethical and Successful Marketing Technique, Entrepreneurial Studies. Blessings!